E55. This is the one with the transmission rebuild that was a couple of months back. Update. The transmission is back here, and as you can see, I open it again completely. I'm gonna explain why, and I'm gonna explain what happened from the first place. This is not with a bearing, this is with a bush, with a thrust washer, not thrust washer, thrust bush. It's not with a needle bearing. There are two types of pumps, obviously. There is nothing wrong with that, since not being compromised the bush inside, it's fine. And the pump, it looks fine. If you get a measurement, it's excellent. There is no problem, okay? So, what happened? What's the story here? I have, by the way, let me show you the parts. This is with a solid transmission mount, okay? Couple of parts there, okay? The rest of the parts are here. I didn't wash it. As I remove it from the transmission, I place it here. I didn't wash nothing because I'm waiting now to the customer to come to see with his eyes what I have in front of me. Long story long. What happened? We put back the transmission, they put back the guys. Always on the transmissions I'm saying that I cannot guarantee the torque converter. I cannot be inside of the torque converter to see what's going on, okay? I'm making measurements, I'm taking some measurements from the solenoid valves, I'm measuring the resistance, I actuate the valves, I'm changing the contactor plate, all the seals be replaced, I check the clearance to don't be tight, to don't be loose, to be within the specs. The housing where it's stepping the seals to be nice and clean. The bearings that has inside has one bearing here and there is another one here inside of this gear that's not leaving to work other way around. It's spinning only one way. It's not like the 72.9. Okay, so all the job, the clearance for the clutches, everything okay. So new gasket, obviously. All right, seals for the gear selector, for this one back that has the plug back, all how it's supposed to be. The o-ring for the oil pump, you can still see the Vaseline on it actually. He didn't drove it, the customer, he didn't make more than 300-400 kilometers. Anyhow, first thing what I did, I reset the adaptations from the TCU. They put the guys for me the transmission on, and we hit the road with the customer to see if there is any vibrations, to see how it's shifting. It was shifting excellent. At the beginning, for the first kilometers, it was a little bit rough, not something crazy. You see here what's going on. We never closed it back. I'm gonna explain why. This, I open it, right? This is not the first one. Oh, this is the first one. No, this is the clean one. This does have a salt inside. The other one, it was full of water. It was white inside when I opened it. I'm gonna come also there at this point. We started driving the car. It was nice and smooth. It made the adaptation. The shifting was much better after 5-6 kilometers. Okay, within an hour, the transmission was disengaging, like it was putting in neutral. Okay, and when I was reading the torque converter through the diagnostic, it was going in zero the speed, like you remove the torque converter if you like. Okay, so I said, I measured the solenoids on a room temperature. I actuated the two solenoids being replaced. For the torque converter solenoid, I didn't replace it, and I was clear. I said that from the beginning, since they didn't brought me with a kit. If you bring me the solenoids, usually they're not suffering, or if it's suffering, you're gonna see that. When you get a measurement, you're gonna see the solenoids, or you're gonna have a fault, let us say. Now it came one fault with a different TCU, with the first TCU. So I opened the TCU that was wearing the car, and was full of salt inside. It was white, literally white. The customer, he brought us another TCU. We cloned the TCU. I'm talking about this TCU. This is the one that was wearing the car and it was have a salt, and now I put it last time just for checkup, and we cloned it to this one. It was happening again the same thing. So we said with the customer, you know what, let's change the torque converter. At least let us say to eliminate any possibility, because there was not any fault inside. It was disengaging, like it was coming neutral. You turn off the car, you start again the car, then it was engaging again. So no vibrations, no any weird sounds that you're expecting some weird sound if it collapses the torque converter, if it comes apart. But there was not any weird sound, there was not any vibrations or something, it was just disconnecting. It was like you're putting it in neutral. Alright, so now there is a possibility, let us say, there is a case either to get a used torque converter or get a new torque converter that's stupid expensive here. I don't know, only here in this country it's expensive, because if you get it from outside it's much cheaper. It's 1/3 of the price that you're gonna find it here. So, or you're gonna repair the torque converter. There is one shop that they're doing this. They're specialized on the transmissions and the torque converters. I said to the owner, balance it, check how much the price for each one, what do you think it's worth it, what's better for you, and act. I cannot guarantee you anything about these guys that are fixing the torque converters. I cannot guarantee anything about the used torque converter. New torque converter will gonna run fine without any problem. Okay? So the owner, he decided to repair the torque converter. And to be honest, I'm gonna do the same thing in his place. I'm gonna send it, let us say, to repair the torque converter. Why not? Right? Okay, and we are coming here. Why I'm showing you this? Because when we install the repaired torque converter, this one, he was having vibrations, the car. It was vibrating. You start the car on idle, it was vibrating, and then when it was accelerating in some RPMs, it was have again vibrations. So we open the oil pan down, because when I plug the previous TCU that I wash it with a spray contact to remove all the salt and blow it with air, we said, okay, you know what, there was one fault for the torque converter clutch, the solenoid. I believe it's this solenoid. So I said, okay, let's order this solenoid to change this solenoid, and at the same time we're going to change also the other 3 solenoids. That's for the shifting, to don't have any headache. Yesterday we received the solenoids. We opened the oil pan, and inside of the oil pan you see this. All this is steel. All this material is steel. You can get it with a magnet. Okay? All of these are steel. Included here on the sensor, here and here, you see. So I said, let me open everything, strip it off completely to see what it failed from inside. Okay? Even it has all this garbage inside, all this glowing stuff, the glitter, I went one by one to check the parts. Wherever you have a steel, wherever you have a housing, let us say, that's running a seal on it, the bearing, let us say, like I said, I don't want to open now anything. I'm waiting the owner to come to see with me. Usually it fails sometimes, this bearing here inside, and you see some thin stainless steel pieces. This bearing never fail. I haven't seen this bearing to fail ever, and there is no wear. Okay, same thing with this needle bearing, same thing with the other needle bearing here, same thing with the sun gear, planetary gear, sun gear. I was looking from the steel parts that has a transmission inside to see if anything failed, because this obviously it's steel. Okay. Everything looks in excellent condition. I don't see any problem. Any problem with the gears, sun gear, planetary gear, any gear. The bearing, like I said, inside there is no problem. Here when it's running the other bearing, there is no problem. This bearing, no problem. Same thing also here on these gears inside. There is no any extra clearance or something. When I remove it, I was checking all of them. So one at a time. Everything looks excellent. I was expecting to be, let us say, I said, okay, it might be the pump, because I said to the owner, call that guy who opened the transmission, who rebuilt the transmission, who rebuilt the torque converter, and ask him if there was a glitter inside of the torque converter when he opened it. Because the guys, when they opened the torque converter to give it to the customer, they didn't see it, when you open the torque converter, some of the transmission oil comes out. They didn't see any glitter inside, because it fell on the floor. When you, as soon as you are pulling the torque converter out of the housing, it fell some oil on the floor. So I said, okay, call this guy, ask him. That guy, he said, you know what, don't use the oil pump that has with the thrust washer, use the other one with a needle bearing. I became suspicious when I heard this. Why? Because yes, he's right, to don't use this one, use the other one, but if there is a run out, if For me, it's very easy to slice it and open the torque converter, let us say, and get a kit and fix it. Who's gonna weld it? Who's gonna put this one together with this one, and he's gonna make alignment, so when you're bolting it on, from one side you have the flex plate and the centering point on the crankshaft. From the other side, you have it's the torque converter that's communicating with the transmission. This here it's running the oil pump, here it's running the bush that you see there on the oil pump, and then you have the input shaft, and you have this one from the drum over there. This is from another transmission. I have it just to center the torque converter. So I said most probably it get destroy the pump because it was running, it was have a run out, so much run out, and destroy the pump, and all this glitter is supposed to come, let us say, from the pump. It's not the pump, unfortunately. The pump looks excellent. There is no problem whatsoever. I didn't want to take it out because now it fell some oil inside. I want to show him to the customer. The customer is not blaming us. He's not complaining. He's just trying to fix his car. He wants just to drive his car. He has now his car almost a year, and he make only 500 kilometers because of the transmission. Because he changed 2 or 3 transmissions. This is the second or the third transmission, and he's trying to figure it out. What's going on? From my side, all the mechanical parts from the transmission, the drums, the bearings, they don't have any problem. And there is nothing to indicate from where it comes all this glitter from these parts, from all these parts what you see here. Include also the housing, everything. There is no scratches. Actually, when I open it, I didn't find any piece of steel, any glowing stuff. Not from the pump, even the housing. I haven't flipped the housing. I just put my hand down. Even the housing is excellent. There's no problem whatsoever. The only way from where it can come all this glitter, unfortunately, it's from the torque converter. Unfortunately, it's only from the inside of the torque converter. That's one update. Now what I have to do here, I have to strip off everything again. Washing all the clutches one at a time in a fresh fluid, pass it with a magnet to collect whatever still has the clutches from it, okay? Open again the seals, dismantle the drums to be washed inside. We don't have any glitter, any shiny pieces. You can see also the gloves. It's not so bad, yeah. And then putting it again together. I have to open again the valve housing. I have to remove all this mess, all this glitter that you see. It's not ideal to work like that, to run like that. And then we're standing by once again for the torque converter. That's the status. That's the status. What I cannot check the torque converter, like I said, and I'm not a tuner or an electrician to check the TCU. The TCU, whatever he's gonna tell me through the diagnostic. Good thing that there is no any failure from inside, bad thing that the torque converter, it contaminates everything. Small update. Now waiting the customer before I start working on it to show him. We had an appointment, what time? At 11 o'clock to be here. Now it's 12 o'clock, he's not here, no worries. Okay, it's Saturday. It's a Saturday, okay. And he's the owner. He can come whatever time he wants. Right? Right. He is also a good friend of mine. Like with the most customers here, we are ending up to be friends. So that's the status. We're gonna see. I don't know what are we gonna do now with the torque converter. You want to work, right? And I'm bothering you because I make a video, right? I know. Just in a minute. We're gonna see what are we gonna do. We're gonna send back to open it again. We're gonna open it here. I don't know. We're gonna see. We're gonna find out. That's it. Over and out. Have a nice weekend. I don't know if I'm gonna make another video today. Yep. I went one step further. Because I didn't like how I attach the torque converter on the choke of the lathe. Alright? So what I did, it was also the customer here. First, I found one old crankshaft and I cut it. Alright, it's an AMG original. So, then I put on the choke and then I measure it to see how much run out has this one. This has less than 300 millimeter. And it's acceptable because the surface is a little bit tired here. The other surface is okay. This is a little bit tired and there is a little bit run out. Okay. Then I get the flex plate, I torque it down with the plate inside, and then I put the original bolts here, and I put the torque converter. From this side, I have an input shaft that goes full inside, and it's aligning with that. That means, where am I? There. Okay, you understand the setup, right? From this side, you have the crankshaft steady with the flex plate. From this side, you have the transmission that's been inside. Okay, and what we see 0.55 millimeter, greater than 0.55 millimeter run out. 1 second. Neutral the lathe. 1 second. Let's make it 0 there. Okay, so we start from 0 and we're ending up. That means 0.4, 0.5, 0.6 of millimeter. Alright, 6/10 of millimeter run out. Now, what I'm gonna do, taking this out, because this has been modified, obviously, this they cut it and they re-weld again, get one that nobody touched before, and do the same test to see how much run out has, let us say, a used torque converter, has some mileage, it's not healthy, but just to compare to see how much run out has. Curiosity. I don't have the privilege of time to do this kind of tests, but I have to do it to see what's going on, at least. Since I had an old crankshaft, I had an input shaft, why not, right? Torque converter out, it's over there, and this is how it looks like, how it's set up. Let's install the other torque converter. It's the original bolts, by the way, with the plate here, everything. Ah, Mr. Nufu, he brought one. Bring it here, bring it to me. Okay, here we are. The other torque converter is over there. This is the one that's not been touched. This from the factory. Okay. There we are. 1 second to see. .500 millimeter. 500 of millimeter. And not even 500 millimeter. And this is a used torque converter that I don't know from which car we remove it, and since we remove it, that means it was a high mileage and it was gone. Even though you see 500 millimeter run out only. Yeah, and 300, actually 200 millimeter had run out the choke, and plus 100 millimeter run out this one. 300, this here it's translate to 500 millimeter. All right, the other one was have 0.55, 0.6, 16 millimeter, and this one has 0.05. You see the difference, right? Let me remove the micrometer from there. Let me spin it. Will it gonna be a good idea, or gonna come oil everywhere? We're gonna find out, right? Just a second, just a second. Come on, unlock. Okay, stay there. Stay where you are. Hi, let's go to 460 RPMs. Yay! Alright. At 460 RPMs, the previous one, it was all over the place. It was shaking everything. Now you see that the lathe, it doesn't shake. Not bad. Not bad at all. At least now I know that 500 millimeter, it's a reasonable run out. Not 610 of millimeter. That's it, over and out. This height was a setup. Original flex plate, original bolts, original spacer, original crankshaft that's not been modified by any means. Okay. This one, it has to enter here inside, and it's aligned perfectly. the torque converter. And when you lift it up, it's excellent inside. Okay, and then from the other side, the input shaft, it goes like that, there, at this point. I'm just saying.